Hi, it's Joy Foster, founder of TechPixies and the host of the Sparkle and Thrive podcast. And I'm excited today to bring on a guest who now has an internationally renowned business. She's traveling all over the world and she's going to tell us how she did it. So, Lois, what was life like for you when TechPixies crossed your path? And what were you doing then versus what are you doing now?
Oh gosh, yeah, big question. Well, thank you for having me on the podcast. Really exciting. So I was looking back actually to see when TechPixies came into my life, which I think was in 2021, and I'm pretty sure it was via a Facebook ad. But I knew of you from having met you at a conference, I think, a while before that, just after I left my job at Tiffany in 2016. And I was at the stage, I think, then of I'd taken some time out from work. I'd finished work. I was burnt out, lots of sort of personal stuff going on. And I was at the stage where I was wanting to dip my toe back in the water. And I was thinking, how do I do that? I didn't want to go back into corporate work. And I thought, this sort of popped up on Facebook, and I thought, I think that'd be a really good thing to do because it would be the start of upskilling, learning something new, which I always think is good for anyone in the.
And that was the social media superhero boot
That
camp
was the
that
social
popped
media
up.
superhero boot camp. And I thought I should try this, learn something new. I do believe in continuous learning. And so I signed up for the boot camp, which I really enjoyed. Started learning all these new things like Canva, which I'd never heard of before, creating my vision. And then I joined up with the program. And it's really all sort of gone from there. And I think, where I am now, I always talk about my jewelry journey, but it's still very much a journey. But I've, when I look back, I've actually come a really long way. And TechPixies has been, a big part of my life in that time. And I have lots to credit TechPixies for in terms of being able to move forward with my business. And
share with us some of the things that you have been able to move forward with your business.
So, I suppose I wasn't really 100% sure on what I wanted to do. I couldn't go back to full-time work. I didn't want to do that. I have my son at home, and I wanted to be available for him. So I started with the idea of, using my skills from having worked in the corporate world, in the jewelry world, which has been a thread throughout my life, to see if I could use those skills to help small businesses, because there are so many small creatives, designer makers out there who are incredibly talented. It's a very saturated market. And there are many who, yes, are very talented, but really need help with the business side of things, strategy, putting a little bit of structure around their businesses, something that perhaps doesn't come so naturally to them. So I've been doing some work with some small jewelry businesses, something I'm still sort of very much developing. But then I had the opportunity through sort of another avenue to go to the Hong Kong Jewelry Fair last year, which is like a big show. And actually, that sort of got me back into the big world of corporate businesses, big businesses. And I kind of got a sort of flavor for that. So it's all sort of helping me frame what I do, which is a jewelry business consultant for independent jewelry businesses. So in the case of Hong Kong, it's a big manufacturing jeweler, but they are a family business. They're very big. And I have a new opportunity coming up quite soon, which is with a South African jewelry business, and I'm South African. So that's great. So, you talk about international. Well, I've been to Hong Kong, and I spend a lot of time working in Italy. I hope that I'll be able to go back to Italy sometime in the future in my jewelry business. Still something I'm exploring, trying to create a vision for. Really important. And and then some homegrown jewelry businesses here. So it's taking shape, but it's still very much a journey, which actually I find really exciting because I'm not always sure where it's going to take me.
Yeah, and I love that. And you've also worked with other TechPixies. I know you've worked with Julia Heffer. You've been a big star of her latest campaign around her program, Build a Brand You Love. So you've also made some fantastic connections within the TechPixies community. Talk about some of those connections and how that's really helped the network that you've built up through TechPixies.
For me, a lot of it is the confidence in trying to put myself out there. And I'm getting better, but for anyone in the community who's a little reticent to put themselves out there, I completely get it. But you will get there, and I'm certainly getting there. I think Julia helped me with branding. I felt like I needed to, in order for my own confidence, I needed to have a sort of a framework and a look for the business that made it look more professional. And she was very helpful with that in pulling together brand colors, and being part of a Build a Brand You Love was fantastic for that. I would highly recommend it. And then through that, there is, there's Leanne Kenny and Steph Chard, both TechPixies, who are doing amazing things with their business. And the great thing about that group is that, we're all trying to move forward. We all have different struggles, things that keep getting in the way, but it's a small support group that, just help you kind of keep moving forward.
That's so important, is to build up that network, that support network. And like you said, the continuous learning is really important. Building up the support network around you is also really important. And trying new things, like going to a whole different country to go to an event, just to, connect.
Well, I think change is people can be a little bit fearful of change, but I think change can be incredibly liberating.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, I think if you can look at it as the opportunity for, opening up your life, and as something positive, even though I don't necessarily like putting myself out there, because I'm a bit of an introvert, I do like change, because it does make you struggle, and struggle is actually quite good, can be good. So, and then, there've been a few other people, I've been a little bit, I will confess, on the fringes of the group. I sort of dip in and out, but I've taken a lot of inspiration from, I do look at what in the Facebook group, and I do communicate every now and then, and I see what people are doing, and I've taken huge inspiration from everyone in the group, because I keep looking and thinking, well, if, I can do it, everyone can do it, I can do it. And, I'm just so full of admiration for everyone in the group who's trying to do something with their lives and create a business for themselves. Paula Tadzix has been incredibly helpful with my tech setup, a real sort of cheerleader. I had a conversation the other day with Nicola Walsh. I'm in touch with Kirsty Vandenbalk. I'm in touch with Facebook with Lindsay Petrayko a bit, on and off, Joanne Fentiman, all the people who were there sort of at the beginning. And it's just great to have met all these new people, not always in real life, but to see their progress. Even if I am a little bit in the background sometimes in the group.
Well, you have finished your social media management certification, and I know there's a lot of women who haven't got all the way to the finish line there. I did say, someone messaged me the other day and said, I still haven't finished my social media management certification, and they were a little bit, frustrated with themselves. And actually, I said to them, but they said, I have a lot more confidence posting on social media. And I said, you don't have to complete the social media management certification in order to actually get the benefits of being more confident being online. Completely. So I think, I had someone approach us recently that said, look, I really want to get people to the finish line on this, and here's how I think we could do it. And I agree, getting people to the finish line is important. But actually what I've learned is when people don't get to the finish line, it's because other really great things are happening in their life. And so, very often, when they finally do get around to getting it finished and getting it completed and getting it submitted, it's long after they've actually got all of the benefits from learning social media, applying social media, et cetera. But talk to us about your social media management certification report. What did you what did you try? What did you discover? Because the way that we set it up is that you put together a plan, you execute that plan, and then you report on the plan. And we say to people, it's like a science experiment. Like, we don't want to make it into this big, huge thing. We want to just, this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I think is going to happen. And then we discover whether or not it happens. What was it like for you? What did you discover on your, as you were doing your report?
Well, I'm definitely one of those who took a while to get there. I did it on my third attempt. And I think I must have taken at least 2 years to actually to get it done. I think the first 2 attempts, it was a combination of things. There was just other stuff getting in the way. There were work opportunities coming along that were important that I just wanted to prioritize on.
Yeah, but wait, we just have to say that there were work opportunities coming along. Usually that's the thing that interrupts people doing their social media management certification, is actual work coming their way.
Yeah, so which is okay. It's a good thing,
And that's the whole reason why people are doing the course in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. And even though it wasn't necessarily social media management work, it was the fact that I would think I was in the group and doing something new and putting myself out there and getting back into the groove and the mindset of working that, those opportunities then start to come about. So I think, on a practical level, part of the reason I didn't manage to complete it in the first 2 attempts was because I wasn't very good with my organization. And where I was capturing all the data and where I was putting it, and it was all a little bit disorganized. And so my learning from those first 2 attempts was, okay, when you do it the third time, make sure to be really organized with where you keep your data. And I think the third time, I'd been debating, do I really need to do this? Is it really going to make a difference, and all of that? But I think for me, and perhaps this is the same for other people, I think I would have been disappointed if I had put in all that work and effort and then hadn't gone over to the final hurdle. And I think it's that, it's that resilience, it's that pushing yourself to get over the final hurdle, which is, at the end, I got such a sense of accomplishment out of it by doing it. But I also really enjoyed the process because I was in the right mindset for doing it. And I gave it my full attention, which I think I wasn't perhaps doing the first 2 times I did it. I was much more organized, and actually I really, really enjoyed doing it. And I think what I learned from it was, it reminded me what I do enjoy doing. I like doing the strategy. I like doing the reporting. I like looking at the data and measuring results. So it was a great reminder for me, going back to my corporate days, when we were always, in retail, you're always looking at the numbers, you're always planning your strategy, you're always like, what's next? Because it's, it just doesn't stop. So I thought, well, I could do something with that. I really enjoy that. Yeah, I think, I would certainly encourage anyone who's sort of hesitating to really try to push through with it. I'm very mindful of, I saw something, when I dip into the group, I do see things, and I saw somebody making a comment about applying for a job and you recommending that they attach to their application, even though they necessarily hadn't had that much experience doing actual social media for a company, that they attach their social media management certificate or report to show what they were capable of doing. And I think that it has a value, even if you're not applying for a social media management job. It's just, it's that continual learning, it's upskilling, it's broadening your skill set. So I really enjoyed it.
What was the key learning for you on the report side? What did you take? What was your experiment, and what did you take away?
So it really was just looking sort of at the basics and, where they were at and where they needed to get to, and then trying all the different types of posting. And then you start to see the results come through. And you think, oh yeah, this does make a difference, and I can do this. And the net result is that, you start to see all those green arrows.
It's really fun when you see the green arrows, isn't it?
It's really rewarding, and it's like, okay, first of all, I could do this.
Yeah.
And secondly, it's, you can get a positive result that then is obviously appreciated by the client.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think, when we're coaching on your social media management certification, we're really saying to somebody, okay, you've got a couple pillars, right? You can increase the following, you can increase the engagement, you can increase an engaged following, right? You can combine the two. You can drive traffic to a website, you can generate leads, you can make sales. There's lots of different ways you can go in terms of what you want to do. What we just say is pick 1 or 2 pillars that you want to lean into. And growth and engagement is where a lot of people start. More sophisticated, you can go to driving traffic to a website, driving traffic to a lead magnet, driving traffic to an actual sale of a product. But then, it's actually then taking all the tactics that we've got in the training and like you said, just trying all the different ways of posting and seeing what resonates with my audience. And it's only by trying it that you can look back and say, okay, that post really worked really well, or that kind of post didn't work at all, or, and you get that feedback. And then at the end of the day, it's looking back and saying, gosh, with an organized, concerted effort over a 28-day period, we get results. And that's, once you've done it once, you then have the blueprint for what you can repeat going forwards.
And a result that isn't a positive result is also a really good, it's good to get that kind of result, because it informs you about what you need to change and do differently in order to try to get a result that's moving in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, for me, the company that I was doing it for, it was very much they'd only done very random posting. So it was very much starting at the beginning and trying to, well, it was doing a cleanup of their followers actually, but also trying to engage with the right people and get more followers from the right people and just more engagement on the posts and doing just a lot of test and learn really
Yeah.
to inform future posting.
And that's a lesson for life.
Yeah,
Test and
completely.
learn, test and
Yeah.
learn, test and learn.
Yeah. And actually looking at data, it doesn't only apply to social media. It can apply to anything that you're doing, and it can apply to your own business, which is something that I, try to talk to some of my smaller jewelry clients about is, you've got to kind of know your numbers, because if you don't know your numbers, you're potentially just working with a sort of an expensive hobby rather than a business that is, founded on substance, if I like. So everything you learn about the numbers and looking at data, I think, from the TechPixies and social media management certification is helpful even outside of that as a discipline.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you've got
Looking at
data
the data.
available to you, it's very important to actually analyze that data.
Yeah. Yeah.
In our Business Beyond Social program, we've created a dashboard where people can track various different things in their business, and then they can see just by I can look at their numbers and go, okay, actually, this is why this is stagnated, or this is where you need to tweak that. So creating, whether it's for social media or for your sales or any part of your business where you can bring data into it is huge. And it's a great lesson to take away.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
tell people what your business is like now and what you're doing. And, you've got a couple clients that you're working with, and, so what are you doing now? Explain to people how you've created how you've structured your business.
Well, I'm working with a range of clients, not many because I don't want to be too overloaded. I have family life to think of too. But I think, I've learned to structure the balance and to not put too much pressure on myself to always be achieving in every sphere, which is great. So I feel like I've sort of got to a point where I'm getting more balance and I'm understanding the balance and what I can do. And all the clients that I work with are quite different, which is quite rewarding. So I do a lot of planning for my week. I do a lot of preparation. I make sure I'm well prepared for meetings with clients. But, like I said, it's still very much a journey in this. I've still got a lot of ideas of things that I want to develop. What I'm really trying to work on now is a newsletter and the lead magnet. What you talk about having start off with a lead. We'll certainly start off with a lead magnet. Maybe I need a landing page. Maybe it's a website. I'm looking at having a website built. But I feel like I'm sort of at that stage where it's, I've got this, I've kind of got an idea of the different kind of clients I can work with. It's now, how do I sort of package it all and take it forward? So I think the newsletter is definitely the next thing, with a lead magnet for the smaller businesses. And then I need to think about what I do for the bigger businesses. But I'm quite good. I've got much better at planning my time during the week. The time I'm going to allocate to the paid work, the time that I allocate to building the next stage, the newsletter and the lead magnet. It always takes a bit longer than I think it's going to take, but it's moving in the right direction, but still very much an ongoing journey.
Yeah, but I think what's wonderful is that in doing it, you have moved forward, you've got clients, you've found this balance, and also understanding that at this point in my life, I want to work flexibly. I want to work part-time. I want it to work around my family. And you've been able to do that. And I think that's one of the promises that we make well, I know it's one of the promises we make in the social media management certification, is that you can build a business flexibly part-time that pays you well. That works around your family, and you've been able to prove that that's true.
Yeah. And I think also it's, I used to put a lot of pressure on myself. Everything had to be perfect. I had to be doing more. And I think, I do credit the TechPixies group, yourself and everyone in it for, sort of helping me understand that it's okay to not be able to do everything, to be kind to yourself in order to move things forward. Because actually, if you try to do too much, you don't actually really move forward. You've got to step back and do one thing at a time, and then it all starts to build. But I think that being kind to yourself and finding, it took me a long time to find my rhythm. I still have all the guilt and that kind of thing, but it's not as bad as it used to be. And I feel like I've sort of, through being in the group, I've sort of gone through this journey within the group, seeing what other people do. We're all part of the same journey, one way or another, and it's really exciting, and it's very rewarding.
And I think what you talked about earlier as well, about being inspired by other people, right? I think people are inspired by you, and also you are inspired by others, and that circle of inspiration where, you see what other people are doing and you go, well, if they can do it, I can do it. And then you share your wins as a way of saying, well, if I can do it, you can do it. And it creates this really great synergy where people really believe that what's possible for them.
Yeah. And I think it can create a lot of momentum, and energy, and we all need that energy to kind of keep moving forward. Because I think if you're working on your own, I certainly find working on my own at home can be quite tough sometimes. That's another thing I've been learning to manage. But when there's a group of people out there and you're able to be part of it, that in itself is energizing. Particularly when you see all the successes that that come about within the group. And I think I constantly think of I did my the social media management, the social media bit, quite some time ago. But all those sessions around procrastination and that sort of thing, I constantly think back to those. I know when I'm procrastinating, but I know when I'm trying to be too perfect, perfectionism.
Yeah, perfectionism.
Yeah, and so I think the value, both within the group, both of the people and of the content and what you learn, is it's for life, really. It doesn't stop when you've done your certification or when you've done your module. It doesn't stop there. It's embedded and it has value.
Absolutely. And you continued to stay in the community, to come to the calls and to benefit from that learning and the planning and all of that. So we have quite a few members actually who've been around for several years. Some who've been involved. We opened up the membership side of the program. So once you finish the program, in terms of, you finished your first year, you get invited to continue. And we've had a very large number of women that have stayed on 4 years, 3 years, 2 years on. And it's really fun to see. I love it when their nose come up and you go, gosh, this person's, A, still contributing to the community, but B, is still learning and growing from us. And that's important too. So you've not only, finally finished your goal of completing your social media management certification, but you've continued with your learning, and that's been very valuable for you as well.
And also, I think social media moves so fast. I do go back and look at the videos, because sometimes I just can't keep up, and because I'm not necessarily planning on being a social media manager, I still do need to know how things work. And
when you're putting together a strategic plan, and we hear that all the time. Like, people do the social media management certification not necessarily to become a social media manager, but to understand how it works so that they can advise on it in a strategy or a plan.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the value goes on. Like I said, the value goes on even afterwards, and that's why I love being in the group. I'm in progression, which is great. And we get all those wonderful quarterly planning calls, which are really helpful. The monthly progression calls with an expert, which are really helpful and inspirational. So yeah, I sort of see it as, TechPixies is a big part of my business that I love being part of.
Well, we love having you part of our community. And if someone would like to work with you, just tell them where they can find you and a little bit about what you offer.
So I can be found on Instagram at The Social Jewel. That's the name of my business. I am on LinkedIn under my name. And an email would be thesocialjewel@gmail.com. Quite straightforward, or via the Facebook TechPixies group. You can direct message me there. So I work in a lot of different ways, but it usually starts off with an exploratory discovery call, I can work one-to-one with people. It can be just, the usual kind of power hour, or it can be on an ongoing basis. It can be in packages of 3 or 5 hours.
And specifically, you're working with creatives in the jewelry space,
yes,
right?
so
That need support in building the business side of
yeah.
they've got
I
this
work
craft,
with
but they need the business
exactly.
side.
Designer makers, jewelry designer makers, and creatives. A lot of what I do could also apply to people who are making, who are makers making another product. And I help with business planning, strategy, and looking at ways like client development and sales development.
And of course,
So
you come from one of the biggest names in jewelry,
I do.
Tiffany.
Exactly. Yeah, 18 years at Tiffany, which was just a huge privilege and a big part of my career. And very lucky to have worked with a brand that sets those really high standards, and that has given me the really solid grounding in what's important in a business and how to run a business. And I love helping smaller businesses now, using some of that experience to help them give a shape to their business. Even if it's a side hustle, you can still create structure and focus and build a plan. And even if it's just an idea, I think, and you're still toying with it, you can still put a little framework in place that can help you take it forward and make it meaningful.
I love that so
Make a
much.
dream become a reality, right?
Absolutely. And we've got so many people on our mailing list who are jewelers, and they may be doing it as a hobby, but they want to do it as a business.
Yeah.
So I thought that would be great to bring you on, so you could share that experience.
And I am looking at doing group workshops, so that's something else in the pipeline.
Watch this space. I love it. Well, when you do your group workshops, let us know so we can shout out to all of our amazing people in our community. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I just want to thank you for coming on, sharing your story. I also want to thank you for being willing to, just let it take the time it needed to take to get to the finish line. You are solidly past the finish line now. You're moving into the continuing with progression, and we love that. But also, you had some great shout outs in this podcast to other women that you have connected with and continue to work with in our community. And I think it just goes to show that, continued learning, very important in life, building up a support network of people who believe in you, very important as well, and having a vision for where you want to go. And just knowing that if you continue to move the energy forward, you will get there. And you did get there, and you are getting there. And now you're
getting there.
Working internationally, which
I've got a long way to go, but I'm determined, and I'm excited. And thank you very much for having me. It's a privilege to be on the podcast with you and to be a member of this fabulous group. So it's great. I love it.
Well, thank you so much, Lois.
Pleasure.
All right. Well, that was fun. I love interviewing tech pixies, especially those who are doing amazing things in the world, around the world, in fact. So if you have questions about tech pixies or how we can help you, please go to our website, techpixies.com, click on the connect via WhatsApp, and we can have a chat and see where you're at and see how we can help you get to where you want to be. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you on our next podcast.